Welcome. Today, I'm going to tell you a horror story that's not only terrifying, but also incredibly fascinating. Get ready for a chilling experience. So yeah, I'm done with drugs. Never went too deep. Nothing like meth or heroin. Tried something sketchy once. Let's just say it was intense. I'd been clean for 9 months when Jake, an old pal, showed up with something called V7. Against my better instincts, I said yes. You know about V6, right? Jake said, already buzzing. That fake stuff? Spice? Yeah, synthetic junk, I replied, glancing at our friend Max, then back at Jake. Exactly, Jake slurred. This is V7, man. It's next level. V7? I raised an eyebrow. You just said V6. Max cut in, rolling his eyes. Ignore him, he's out of it. This isn't synthetic, Sam. It's something else entirely. Then why's it called V7? I asked. Jake grinned, leaning closer. 'Cause it's like V6, but way crazier. Not a cannabinoid, though. Totally different beast. I shifted uncomfortably. You remember last year, right? That mess? Yeah, I know, Max said. But I've tried this 4 times. No bad trips. First time I was just gone, man. Second time? Felt like I was floating in a void beyond the stars. What's beyond the stars? I asked, curious. I saw it, but I can't explain it, Max said. It was unreal. I was intrigued. How long's the high? Depends on the dose, Max said, holding up a bag of tiny capsules. I only get the good stuff. His cat, Shadow, hissed from across the room. Shadow, chill, Max said. Is she okay? I asked. She's fine, Jake mumbled, giggling. She's fine, dude. Is he on it now? I asked, eyeing Jake, who was now sprawled on the couch, twitching. Took it just before you got here, Max said. Wanted someone clear-headed to explain. Thanks, I said as Jake muttered nonsense. Max popped a capsule. I hesitated, then followed. How's it feel? Max asked after a minute. Fine so far, I said. How long till it hits? Any second now, Max grinned. Shadow hissed again, louder, her fur bristling. She doesn't seem fine, I said. She's good, Max insisted. Jake was now trembling on the couch, not laughing anymore. Does it make you cold? I asked. Everyone's different, Max said. It's a wild ride, though. Jake didn't look like he was having fun. He's not okay, I said. Oh, honey, you know how your friends get? Said my aunt's voice. What? I blinked. Aunt Clara? I'm not your aunt, said Mr. Thompson, my old counselor, sitting where Max had been. His hands were clasped, his face stern. Sam, you know better after last year. I thought I could handle it, I mumbled, staring at the floor. The rug's patterns swirled like a kaleidoscope. This'll be a rough one, Mr. Thompson said, his voice low, almost sinister. What? I looked up. His face twisted into a grin I didn't recognize. It's gonna be a bad trip, he said again, deeper. Max said his trips were great, I protested. Doesn't mean you won't crash, he said, now in Max's voice. I blinked. Max was back, staring at me like I was nuts. Who's Mr. Thompson? My old counselor, I said, throat dry. Shadow yowled, a guttural, unnatural sound. I glanced at her. Her eyes locked on mine, but her mouth didn't move when she yowled again. Whoa, I said. Your cat's yowling without opening her mouth. Max was now perched on the ceiling, neck twisted unnaturally. Can you sit down? You're freaking me out. I am sitting, Max laughed, suddenly back on the couch, clutching his sides. Is it that funny? I asked. It's not that, Max gasped. The beetles in your hair are humming, I grinned. Humming what? Max couldn't answer, doubled over laughing. But I heard it, a tune from an old cartoon. Dude, I said, it's from Cinderella. Max howled louder. You said it wrong, man. It's sisters, not sistars. What? I looked up. There it was. Sistar. That's weird. I reached for the S to fix it, but it stung my hand as Shadow yowled again. The sound was demonic. "Careful," Max said, still laughing. "Fix it next time," Shadow spoke. "You better." One by one, the letters in Systar floated toward the window. "Max, the letters are escaping." "I can't hear you," Max said in Mr. Thompson's voice. "Come upstairs." "I'm downstairs," I said, then tripped over his desk. I was in his bedroom now, a mess of clothes and junk. "Come upstairs," Shadow growled, her voice echoing like she was standing at the top of the stairs, head tilted wrong. "Nope, I'm good here," I said, grabbing a desk drawer and dumping out pens and socks. I put it on my head like a helmet. "Can't get me now." I sat on the floor. His bed had moved across the room. "Ow," I muttered. "Upstairs," Shadow hissed right behind me. "Get out of my head," I shouted. "The power of the drawer commands you." Max was on the ceiling again, neck twisted. "Stop it," I said. "Stop what?" Max asked, now in his room. Or was he? I heard his laughter from downstairs, distant, like I was underwater. "I'm not in control," I whispered. I crawled toward the hall, but the floor turned to glue. The drawer on my head was too wide for the door. I tilted it and stumbled to the stairs. Downstairs, Jake was lurching toward Shadow's crate, eyes wide, mouth agape. Shadow was yowling silently. "That's weird," I said. "It's a bad trip," Mr. Thompson said. "You said that already," I snapped. "Why's Shadow silent?" "It's a bad trip," he repeated, crawling on the ceiling, neck twisted. "Why's everything looping?" I yelled. "Drink water," Max said, handing me a glass. I tried, but it was upside down, spilling into the swirling floor. "I lost the water," I said. "Where'd you last have it, dear?" said Aunt Clara. "I don't know," I said. "Uncle Pete, did I drink it?" Uncle Pete, floating on a chair stuck to the ceiling, tipped his hat. "Let me know if you find it. It's gonna be one hell of a ride, you know." Why am I only now hearing Muffin's frantic barking? That was like an hour ago. I glanced over. Eddie had lifted her crate, stuffed with her toys and blanket, hoisting it high above his head. Muffin was in a state of sheer terror, her eyes wide with panic, while Eddie seemed to be trying to swallow the entire crate whole. His jaw unhinged like a snake, revealing exactly 14,543 jagged spike-like teeth, each one gleaming like a steel blade. Bark, 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 bark. "Ed, stop!" I heard my own voice call out, shaky and desperate. I squeezed my eyes shut, shaking my head to clear the fog. "Ed, stop!" I said again, my voice echoing in my skull. "Why?" His face flickered, like a TV screen tuned to a dead channel, all static and noise. "Ed, put her down and get that static off your face." He was scuttling across the ceiling now, staring down at me in a way that should have snapped his neck. "What?" Eddie's voice rasped. The crate crashed to the floor, Muffin yelped, a sharp, piercing sound. I don't know, man," I stammered. "Your face is all static, like a busted TV channel." "My face is static?" Eddie's voice crackled through the buzzing haze. He clawed at his face, nails digging into the flickering distortion. "And who's crawling on the ceiling, staring down at you in a way that should have broken their neck?" His words felt wrong, like they didn't belong in this moment. I heard his voice, but his mouth wasn't moving. In fact, Eddie wasn't even there anymore. He was in the kitchen now, grabbing a knife. "Shit," I muttered. "It's gonna be a bad trip, you know." "Shut up, Pastor Lewis," I thought. "I get it now." Eddie started slashing the air in front of his face. "Get off me, static," he growled. "Get off me!" I grabbed the knife. "Ed, stand up. Wait, no." I stood up. Eddie swung the knife, then dropped it. Damn it, I thought. I stood up. Ed set the knife down. "There we go," he said, his voice eerily calm. "It's gonna be a bad trip, you know." I spun around. Pastor Lewis was at the top of the stairs, except it wasn't Pastor Lewis. It was a figure, pitch black, like a void in human shape. "Pastor Lewis, black looks good on you," I said, my voice trembling. "Come upstairs," the figure said. Its voice wasn't Pastor Lewis's anymore. It was static, molded into words, buzzing and sharp. "I can't," I said. "I have to save my friend from the static knife." "Come upstairs," the figure repeated. "Come up the stairs, come." Stairs, ceilings, walls, it was all blending together. The figure was on the ceiling now, gazing down, its neck twisted at an impossible angle. Neck, narc, bark, bark. Get off me, static, I shouted. Yo, who the hell is Pastor Lewis? The figure was still on the ceiling, staring down in that neck-breaking way. Come upstairs, darling, it said, its voice syrupy and wrong. It's gonna be a bad trip, you know. I was falling, and it was hot. This endless tunnel, whatever it was dark and sweltering, dark and hot. A terrible combo, right? I haven't been in many places like that, but let me tell you, I'd take bright and cool any day. Help me, I gasped. I felt pavement beneath me. Help me, I'm falling. Lights flickered on along the sides of the pit. Come upstairs, said a voice behind me. A voice that was Todd, Pastor Lewis, Eddie, and my mother all at once. This isn't a bad trip, Kevin, it said. It's real, and you know it. What you thought was real, that was the trip. Time, space, those are illusions. This is what lies beyond the curtain. This is the void outside the universe. This is the nothingness waiting for you at the end. No, I screamed, falling. Get him up! Come upstairs and take that thing off your head, the voice urged. Join the static. Bark. You okay? I blinked. Hey, kid, said the officer. You okay? I looked around. I was sprawled on the street, surrounded by concerned neighbors and flashing police lights. Most of the chaos was centered on Eddie's house. Muffin whimpered in her crate beside me. What happened? I mumbled. Well, you're out here screaming, I'm falling, with a dog crate and a dresser drawer on your head, barefoot, the officer said. I was hoping you'd tell me. I think I was saving Muffin, I said. Who's Muffin? The dog, I nodded toward the crate. Yeah. Saving her from what? My friend, he was gonna kill her, I think. Then he tried to carve his face off because it was all static. Holy shit! My now clear mind wrestled with the words I'd just said. Holy shit, that stuff was wild. Yeah, I muttered. That's one way to put it, kid, the officer said. You're lucky you didn't jump off a roof. Can you stand? He helped me up. I staggered toward his car. Wait, I said. What happened to Todd and Eddie? He gave me a grim look. No, kid, they're not okay. This is why you don't mess with that stuff. Now we've got to clean up what's left. Sit there. He walked off to talk to the other officers and paramedics. Paramedics, 2 gurneys, an ambulance. I woke up 36 hours later, in my own bed. As I later learned, Eddie had managed to get the static off his face. Along with most of his face, Todd, last I heard, was in a straitjacket. Muffin went to a shelter, then to a new family. At least there's some good news. As for me, they said the effects might never wear off. I didn't believe them at first. Who would? How do you even process that? Fuck. All I know is that black figure still stands at the end of my hallway, beckoning me to join it. I still hear static. My son asked me to check the closet for monsters. I didn't need to. I went through a brutal divorce recently. But I got the only thing that mattered out of it. Fuck. How I became a god. I wasn't born clever. In fact, I was broken. A simpleton. Crippled. Dragging myself across the forest floor. Never straying far from my mother's shadow. Back then, I thought she didn't care much for me or my siblings, leaving us to fend for ourselves. But now I see she was always watching, guarding us. She was cold, distant, and simple like me. But she knew how to spot predators and dangers while my brothers, sisters, and I learned to scavenge. It feels cruel now, but many of my siblings didn't make it. Life was brutal, crawling through dirt, treating any scrap of food like a feast. As I grew, she vanished, left me and 2 of my brothers alone, too young to survive. They didn't last long, but somehow I kept going, dragging myself through mud, fighting my disabilities, finding food and shelter wherever I could. I learned to turn my weaknesses into strengths, setting traps for small animals. But I was still a fool. No matter how clever I thought I was, failure was constant. Surviving in the jungle, handicapped and slow, was mostly dumb luck. Though I thought myself a genius back then, I never stayed in one place long. Moved slowly, carefully, ate whatever I could find. Small creatures, scraps, anything edible. I could go days without food. Eventually, I found a small stream and a tiny cave nearby. It became my home for a while. Hidden, safe enough. I'd drag myself to the stream, soak in the tropical sun, nap under trees, eat when I could. Those were my simple joys. Predators were always a threat. Crippled, I couldn't run. So I learned to hide, to read the world around me, when to be loud, when to be silent. Against all odds, I survived. Looking back, I mistook luck for skill. That could have been my whole life, crawling until I starved or my luck ran out. But that's where my story truly starts, where it should have ended. I was dragging myself through the jungle, starving, desperate for anything to eat. It had been days, and hunger clawed at me. All I knew was crawling, searching for scraps or small creatures to ambush. I pushed through a bush and froze. A jaguar crouched low, ready to pounce. Any other day I'd have been its lunch, but it was locked on something else. I held my breath, praying it wouldn't notice me. It sank lower, eyes sharp as only a predator's can be. I risked a glance at its target, a massive, vibrant bird, dangerous in its own way. A riot of colorful feathers crowned with a plume, almost as big as the jaguar. I didn't know how rare it was then. All I saw was a hunter about to strike, and it did. The bird launched into the air as the jaguar leapt, soaring into the canopy with the cat in pursuit. I stayed still, waiting to see if it would return. It didn't. I crawled into the clearing. Nothing much there, so I dragged myself up the small hill where the bird had been. At the top, I found a giant nest. Inside were 3 huge, strangely colored eggs. I devoured them all on the spot. Then I crawled back to my resting place. Sleeping with a full stomach was a rare joy. But that's when things shifted. Over the next few days, I started noticing things. Small details at first, things about the jungle I'd never seen before. The world seemed brighter, more vivid. Colors popped in ways they never had. My senses sharpened, allowing me to focus on multiple things simultaneously. As days stretched into weeks, I realized I could craft plans far more intricate than simply lurking quietly for something to dart past so I could seize it, or scavenging for leftover scraps scattered around. I began designing clever snares, using stones and natural surroundings to aid in capturing my prey. I selected resting spots where foliage and shrubs ensured I'd hear any ground-dwelling predators approaching. Though still disabled, my intelligence grew. My size did too, dramatically. Once a scrawny, malnourished weakling, within months I transformed into a towering, muscular figure, nearly 6 feet of pure strength. I still crawled, but with newfound speed and energy I'd never experienced before. I felt hopeful and uplifted, unaware of what lay ahead. As months turned to years, I walked for the first time ever. Few beasts could challenge me now, standing almost 12 feet tall, a colossus of the woods with power to match. I wandered freely through the forest, eating whatever, whenever, and wherever I pleased. I constructed my first shelter from rocks and fallen timber, becoming the ruler of the wilderness. I scaled my first tree, an unforgettable moment. High above, hundreds of feet in the canopy, I reached the sunlight atop the tallest tree I could find and gazed over my realm. Endless emeralds stretched in every direction, a once threatening playground now mine to roam at will. So I explored. I found rivers, cascades, glades, vast caverns, immense sinkholes, and lakes. I encountered countless new plants and creatures: frogs, birds, felines, spiders, herbivores, and even carnivorous plants. Over time, I grew fond of observing tree monkeys, the only creatures displaying intelligence akin to mine. When I found an injured one, I gently took it with me, nursed it back to health, fed it, and earned its trust. It became my tiny companion. Names didn't exist then, but they weren't needed. For the first time, I felt deep affection for this one creature, my first friend. I took great care, as my growth never stopped. By my reckoning, I stood nearly 30 feet tall, while this monkey was a mere speck in comparison. Yet the joy it brought, gathering tiny fruits for me and sleeping calmly beside me, showed me how lonely I'd been, wandering the forest for decades, always watching but never truly belonging. When it passed peacefully from old age, I was devastated. I'd seen its decline, while I seemed immune to time's passage, still growing as the world shifted. Rivers changed course, landscapes evolved, animals came and went. After its death, I slipped back into an observational phase, roaming the forest, soaking in its sights and sounds. I don't know how long passed before they found me, other monkeys but far cleverer. They chattered rapidly, used tools even more ingenious than mine, and were terrified of my towering presence, nearly as tall as the trees. I mostly kept my distance, but watched them. They built odd shelters from branches and leaves, similar to my stone dwelling long ago. I no longer needed such things. They wielded fire, illuminating the night in ways I'd only seen during stormy skies. Over time, more approached me, and I earned their cautious trust. I learned their sounds, and with effort, we communicated well. They sought my knowledge of hunting grounds, water sources, and safe places for new settlements, as I'd explored nearly everywhere. One day, I noticed strange stone carvings near my resting spot. A young one, asking for help moving a dangerous tree threatening his hut, explained they were offerings to gain my favor for prosperity. He called me a god, noting their short, harsh lives and believing I could improve them. I'd already shared my knowledge when asked, but he was right. I could do more. I recall the fear in their eyes as I loomed over their village, perhaps expecting anger. I clarified my intent by removing the hazardous tree, setting it aside safely. Our bond grew over years. They devised grand projects, leveraging my size and strength, achieving in days what would have taken them decades. We built a massive stone structure, a rough pyramid, replacing their huts with durable living spaces. For a while, things thrived. I played an active role, reminiscent of my old monkey friend, but now with many I could speak to and share with. We dug irrigation channels for crops, studied the stars, and pondered the forest's mysteries. But their numbers swelled endlessly, leading to fights over the forest's seemingly boundless resources. Their speech diversified, and I could only understand those nearby. They began requesting my aid in battles against other villages. I always refused. The breaking point came when my village attempted to sacrifice a girl in my name for victory in a raid. I tried to empathize, but their conflicts overwhelmed me. Too many people, villages, disputes, and sorrows. I felt like that crawling, confused cripple again, lost in the mud, unsure of my path.